Hi, I'm Sandra Barrington, Executive Director of Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital Foundation, and welcome to Doc Talks. This is a series where we bring our local physicians to you to learn more a little bit about their background, what their services are that they offer, and maybe get a little insight into what they think the future of healthcare looks like locally. And today I have with me Dr. Ingrid Bauer, who is a board-certified internal medicine doctor. Thank you for having us today.
Thanks for inviting me, Sandra.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for your time. I know you are a very busy doctor. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you came into medicine, your educational background.
Sure. I did not think I wanted to go into medicine at all. My mom was a nurse, and I think she was nursing in an era where it just was a not very respected profession, very different than this era. And I grew up hearing about really gross things at the dinner table, was totally not interested at all. I studied anthropology, Latin American studies, and in college, and that also meant that I didn't do any of the prerequisites that I needed for medicine. And I got interested in medicine actually after I started studying herbal medicine and first aid. I did EMT training, and then I started doing a lot of volunteer work as a street medic during protests around the war in Iraq in the early 2000s, and at natural disasters, including going to New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina and doing some other community level events, including after some of the fires in the Bay Area too. That really spiked my interest, and I realized that I was becoming a little disenchanted with the political tactics and what kind of change we were or weren't making. But I really loved patient care. I really loved the interactions I had with people, and I got really fascinated with the science of medicine. And so I decided to go to med school, which is crazy. So I had to go back and do prereqs. I did those all through community college, which was pretty amazing. Go California Community College.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then I passed the MCAT somehow and applied to med school and was accepted into the UC Berkeley and UCSF Joint Medical Program.
Wow.
Which I started when I was 29 and I had a 9-month-old.
Oh, so that's different.
It was a different
trajectory.
Course. Yes, very different trajectory.
Yeah. So what was that like? You know, we're both moms, working moms, but school and mom is different.
School and mom was really hard, but I just did it. I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder and I was really motivated, and so I just plowed through. I was really fortunate. One of my other classmates in med school was my age and had a baby about the same age, so we had some camaraderie, and it was a different type of medical school program. It was very small. We're 16 per class, and then we were connected to UCSF, so we matriculated for our second half of our training to UCSF, at which point things were getting a little bit easier. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the services that you offer in this community and what made you choose this line of medicine, because there's so many options.
Yeah. So I trained in internal medicine. I trained at Highland Hospital in Oakland, which serves an amazingly diverse patient population. And after living in the city for 10 years, I really wanted to move back to a rural area because I grew up in the country. And I wanted to be able to garden and have my kids have more space and have dogs. And we love camping and hiking. So coming up here was a natural fit. And we already knew people in Nevada County. I'd fallen in love with the Yuba River. We'd fallen in love with the arts community and all the music and just amazing, vibrant culture there is here. And so we had decided to live here, and then I figured I'd better get a job.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up here, and I absolutely love it here. We were here for 5 years now.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So I was working in primary care for the first 3.5 years here through the pandemic, in part because doing hospital medicine during the pandemic with a family just seemed not safe. And then I converted back to hospital work just this past year in November of 23.
Okay, so you're a hospitalist in our hospital.
Yeah, so I'm a hospitalist at Sierra Nevada now.
So some people may not know that there are physicians who specialize specifically in taking care of patients when they are in the hospital, and they are called hospitalists. It is very rare now that your primary care would come visit you in the hospital, maybe a specialist, but for the most part we have a great hospitalist group that really serves the patients within our hospital. So we're lucky to have you.
Thanks. Yeah. It's been wonderful. I really, really love the acuity of hospital medicine. That's something I missed in the outpatient setting. It's how I got into medicine, was doing these kind of exciting first aid type of experiences, and really being in an environment. We have a lot of complicated patients. We're the only hospital in the county, and we serve everybody. So I get to see incredible diversity of people, ages, and all types of conditions, and that keeps me on my toes.
Yes. There's not one condition you see more than others, or?
Oh, we see everything. Everything from, skin infections, cellulitis, to pneumonia, to rare neurologic conditions, to people who are critically ill, and we serve everybody. So it is never boring. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what do you see as a hospitalist as the future in medicine? People talking a lot about artificial intelligence. There's a lot of new technologies coming down. What do you see as the future of medicine in your line of work?
I think that the use of point-of-care diagnostics is a really big thing in hospital medicine. I am planning on doing point-of-care ultrasound training this year, because that's already very common practice in larger academic medical centers for hospital doctors, and very widespread among emergency room doctors. So that is a technology that's already very well adopted, but hasn't penetrated as far into hospital practice, but it's incredibly helpful in assessing volume status. When can this person with heart failure go home? Do we need to keep them on medicine to get the water off for longer, or can they go home on pills and follow up with their cardiologist and their primary care? So things like that are really helpful. AI is something we talk about all the time, but I think that hopefully it's more leaning towards technologies that help us, such as dictation technology, that save on our charting time, but don't take away from the critical thinking skills as well as the interpersonal interaction. The thing I love about my job is that I get to think critically all day long, and I get to interact with humans on a human-to-human basis, and computers can't replace either of those things.
Exactly.
At least not yet.
Yeah, the human side of care and showing the love and the kindness is...
That's critical.
Is critical, especially when you're in the hospital with the patient and their family.
Yeah.
And the point of care ultrasounds is some training we've been doing with our residency program. We have our family practice residency program, and that is part of one of the things that we've helped fund through that program, is making sure that they're having that point of care ultrasound training.
Their training.
Yeah, you should talk to Dr. Gukin about that.
Yeah, there's UCSF offers ongoing trainings. I was going to go to one in Hawaii this summer. Didn't work out with logistics, but there's lots of opportunities to do that type of training, and it's really, really fun and interesting. I'm good at finding a gallbladder. I'm hoping to advance the skills in sort of cardiac and pulmonary evaluation too.
That would be great, because we definitely need more of that in the community.
Definitely.
For sure. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today?
Something I didn't share is that besides working as an internal medicine doctor, I'm an avid gardener. I grow tons of produce. I'm always bringing it with me and trying to give away stuff that I grew too much of. Yeah. So I walk into the hospital with a big basket of zucchini, which this time of year it's a little controversial.
Season.
It's a little controversial. Tomatoes and fruit goes over a little better. And I'm also an herbalist, and so I, don't get to practice integrative medicine in the hospital, but I take a very holistic approach and love to give dietary advice before people leave, and kind of bring that more holistic perspective in, because when people are hospitalized, they need the medicines or the surgeries that we're providing, but sometimes the things that are going to help them stay out of the hospital is changing their lifestyle.
Yes.
And that type of support is really fun to share, because it's not always expected in the hospital. And we live in a community where there's a lot of people that are very naturally minded. So when they get to meet a doctor who understands the supplements they're taking or has dietary advice that's in line with their values, they're kind of puzzled, but it's a fun and it's a good way to connect with people too.
Yeah, that's wonderful, that holistic approach. I always say the biggest thing we can do for healthcare reform starts with what we put in our bodies and how we take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have you come down and see the hospital garden.
I have. I go out there on my breaks.
Oh, great. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, I go nibble things.
Yeah, the tomatoes and the zucchini, of course, are going crazy.
No, it's fantastic.
And grab some basil.
I don't need any. I'll leave it for the people who don't have gardens.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And you can find us at supportsierranevada.org, also on Nevada County Media, and on our Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us today.